Welcome, everybody, to Meet the Sponsors. Today, we have a special guest, John Viscardo from Hoonigan. John and I first met when he was with Motor Trend magazine. He spent, I want to say, a decade with Motor Trend and probably over 20 years in the media industry doing what I do, selling sponsorships and media for the companies that he worked for. John has as much experience in sponsorships as I do. And man, he has a lot of good stuff to tell. And we're going to talk about it today. John, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me, Alex. And excited to see everyone joining on the call here. It's a lot of folks. So hello, everyone.
So just to start, I want to make it clear, John does not issue the sponsorships for Hoonigan. Yeah. He sells sponsorships for Hoonigan. Hoonigan is involved in a lot of stuff. And I've known John long enough to know that he has some very valuable insight into how to get sponsors, how to approach it. And also he works with a certain person who does issue the sponsorships, and we'll mention him and get to that a little later in the call.
I will mention him towards the end of the video to make sure you guys listen all the way through of who to talk to. Dave Viscardo sent you, but yeah. And we also have a nice coupon code for all of you listening and watching this video, right, Alex?
Oh, excellent. That'd be great. Thank you for that.
So yeah, if you want to buy a nice Hoonigan shirt or hat or any kind of Hoonigan gear on Hoonigan, use the coupon code Hoonigan MTS, all one word. MTS is for Meet the Sponsor. Go there, use that code. I think it's through the end of March 31st. You can use that code and get a nice discount on your clothing. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That's badass.
Okay.
Appreciate
No problem.
it. So you spent so long in media. Why are you now at Hoonigan? What was the switch from, I mean, I guess it's maybe obvious in a certain sense that the magazine industry is kind of fading somewhat and Hoonigan's growing, but what would you say? Tell me about Hoonigan.
Yeah, no, Hoonigan's up and coming, great brand. And we like to say two things. It's a company based on vehicular savagery, we call it, on cars. But we also like to our simple motto is to just make cars fun again. And if you notice, if anyone's seen a Hoonigan video, it's always our guys out there and we're always having fun. And that's really what it's all about. So whether you're a drifter or you're a racer, you're just a regular car enthusiast, we want people to have fun with their vehicles and watching our videos. That's what the brand is all about. But yeah, I just started, in December, and it's been a great ride so far, pun intended, and I'm really enjoying myself here.
Nice. And now Hoonigan was just acquired by Wheel Pros. I've known Wheel Pros a long time, worked a lot with Randy White and Jody Gross over the years.
Yep. And they've been invaluable. It's been a good merger from what I've seen. Wheel Pros is a great company and a lot of great brands under that umbrella. So yeah, we're all excited here. It's been really great so far.
Yeah, Hoonigan is a good fit. So when it comes to selling sponsorships, you and I have a different approach on certain areas. And this is why this is going to be a fun conversation, because let's just start with trade shows.
Yes.
What I like to say is, hey, when you go to a trade show, go a day early or go a day late and help the team set up, help the team break down, but don't bother them during the trade show. They don't want to hear it. You have a different philosophy. Can you get into that?
To all the racers out there, bother the hell out of the marketing people at trade shows. Okay. I know they're not there specifically to talk to, every racer that comes up to them, but you're basically there to do a sales pitch. You want them to sponsor your vehicle, whatever, give you some parts for a build you're doing, whatever it is. Go up to them. If you can, book an appointment before you get to the show. That's obviously ideal, but just the fluidity of trade shows, it's hard to get someone in their booth at a specific time. And I think it's all part of the sales pitch. So you're calling sponsors like Alex or other marketing managers, you're emailing them, and it's just another touch. If you're at PRI or SEMA, go over, introduce yourself, shake their hand. You don't have to give them a big fat sponsorship deck because they're probably not going to have room for that on their plane flight home, but at least present yourself to them and they'll be like, oh yeah, you're the guy that called me 20 times this year. And you can at least make an impression that way.
So the trick with trade shows, as you're saying, is use them to get your name out there to start that relationship that you can then, after the trade show, perhaps follow up with that deck. You were just mentioning send them a deck later.
Yeah. Or, just, it's another touch point. Sometimes I was talking to, they'll give you like a homework chore or something to do. And this eliminates like 90% of the racers. I remember, I think it was Penske Shocks or Bilstein said, all right, Mr. Racer, you want us to sponsor you? How about a homework assignment? Go sell 5 of our shocks to some of your buddies and then come back when you've done that and we'll talk. And whoever the marketing manager was, he said that gets rid of 90% of the racers who want a sponsorship because I never hear from them. But the 10% who do sell 5 shocks for me, those are the ones I want to be in business with. And I
Nice.
thought that was a good little homework assignment to give someone looking for sponsorship.
That really is a good homework assignment. How many times do you usually have to approach somebody before you can get to that part, or get the relationship to the level where you feel comfortable calling them and they call you back, or they start to respond to emails or even text messages nowadays?
Right,
That
right.
takes a
Well,
long time, I know.
it does. You don't have to do it for 20 years like I have been. But usually, the old sales saying, it takes 7 or 8 calls before you get the sale, but most people give up after 3 calls.
Yes.
Marketing managers are busy. You just have to keep that in mind, as are CEOs, as are anyone who handles sponsorship money. So don't get discouraged if they don't call you back. I expect no one to call me back. Let me repeat that. I expect no one to call me back. And I've known Alex and these guys for 20 years. They have 38 different things to do each day. Then call John Viscardo at Hoonigan back. They do. It's like last on their list to spend money with me. I get that. So don't be upset if they don't call you back or they don't email you back. They're just busy. So just, you don't have to call them or email them every day, but space it out in a nice way, once every week, once every 2 weeks, where you're just reminding them like, look, I really want to work with Bill Steen or Lucas Oil or whoever it may be. Your sponsorship's important to me. There's no problem. I don't think bother in doing that. Alex, what do you think?
No, I agree. And it's interesting because sometimes if you can approach people with a non-business purpose, but just get to know them, just become their friends, find a common link, whether it's a sports team that you like, or a college you guys all went together to, or something. If there's, an interest, whether it's beer or wine or horses or
Or
shooting or
dogs.
motorcycle riding,
Yeah.
you can
Yep.
connect there. And
Yep.
then that leads later on to a, hey, tell me what you do and perhaps send me a proposal. You and I were
Yeah.
talking, John, about the differences between decks and proposals. So
Right. Right. So
you're
that's
saying
the
your
other
deck
part of it.
is get to know somebody, proposals show them what you can do for them.
Right. And it's all a numbers game. Like, my goal here at Hoonigan is I'd like to set one screen share meeting like this with a client each workday of the month. That's my goal. So I need to set whatever that is, 24, 25 meetings a month. Of those 24 screen shares, I'll maybe get 12 people who request a proposal from me, and I'll maybe get 2 sales from those 12 proposals. So just a numbers game. You kind of keep doing it and keep pumping them out there. And again, don't get discouraged if they don't pick up your deck and say, my God, get in here and read this deck, people. This is the best deck I've ever seen. It's not like that. You gotta follow up and do all the legwork that goes along with it.
Nice. Does everybody get the same deck?
No. I mean, obviously there's good decks and bad decks. Please have your decks proofread by people who aren't you. Grammar, spelling. I know it sounds unimportant, but it is important. It's just attention to detail, little things like that. Just
How
make
about
sure.
when you give decks out? Do you give the same deck to all the potential
No,
sponsors you're
no,
approaching?
I try and customize it and cater it to whoever I'm talking to. So obviously, like an oil company and a brake company may not get the same deck from Hoonigan, or a video game company or an energy drink company won't get the same deck from Hoonigan. It's all, handcrafted, I like to say, for their needs.
Right. Now let's real quick. We kind of jumped over what Hoonigan does. Hoonigan is a brand, obviously, that makes cars fun, and
Yep.
people called it savagery. That's hard to
Vehicular
say.
savagery. Yeah, I know it
Vehicular
is.
savagery. Dang, that's a hard
Yeah.
one. But at the same time, it's all you put on events. You seek sponsorships. You got Ken Block, Travis Pastrana,
Yep.
Leah Pruitt.
Yep. All brand ambassadors, and we half the house. It's 2 things. Half the house is a clothing company. That's how it started. You see
Yes.
Hoonigan hats and shirts everywhere you go. But the other half of the house is to make videos showing what we can do with these vehicles. That's awesome and spectacular that no one else has really seen before. And if you've seen Gymkhana or any of those videos on YouTube or Amazon or wherever, you'll see that we're doing things with cars and trucks that no one else really has. And that's really what we try and top ourselves with each little episode that we do. And I think that's what makes it interesting to people. And that's why we have millions of viewers. I could actually share a slide with you real quick, Alex, if you don't mind.
Yeah, show us. Tammy can help with that.
So
There you go.
I always get this, how do we stack up? Like, how big is Hoonigan? Can you see this, Alex?
I can.
Okay. And this
You're
is
gonna
just
have to read the words to me. I can see the bars. I cannot read the words. Just from where
okay.
I'm sitting.
Yeah, this is just a little slide we did. How do we compare to some of the other larger brands? YouTube subscribers, we have 4.7 million. Major League Baseball has 3.4 million. The NHL is 2.1 million, and NASCAR is 743,000. So we're just as big social followers wise as some of the big sports experience outfits out there. And we're getting bigger each day. So I just wanted to share that with your viewers here, that we like to show off what we can do. We have a lot of reach, we have a lot of power, and our fans are truly passionate. And I think that's why I like working here so much.
So question for you then, when you're selling sponsorships for Hoonigan, certainly it's some of the events, and I'm guessing it's some of the vehicles, do you use other brand ambassadors, their social reach and their marketing to as part of the value that your sponsors will get? Can you pass through some of your other team riders' deliverables to sponsors?
Yeah, I mean, we invite, drift car racers and drag racers to shows like this versus that, or Build and Battle, or we have influencers who come on the show for sure. We don't necessarily sponsor them. We just offer, like I just showed you the slide, our social media influencer followers that they'll gain by being on Hoonigan. So in that regard, we don't really sponsor anyone per se, but we love having new and upcoming talent on the show, or any of our shows on YouTube for that matter. So it's kind of a tricky question. That's more of a in-depth question for our marketing department.
Got it. And I'm going to ask him that. I'm going to say, when you're looking for brand ambassadors, can the brand ambassadors also deliver value for John as he's selling Hoonigan? That would be interesting.
Sure. Yeah.
You have more of an army working for you, right?
Yeah. And that's something that brands want to know too. Like, where are you putting this video? Like, how are we going to get our bang for our buck? And, like I said, I was just showing you, we have large Instagram following, large Facebook following. So they're going to get all that social media power in addition to all the brand recognition of partnering with Hoonigan.
And branding is important. You and I talked a lot about branding in the past. Racers are a brand. What is your brand? Ken Block has a brand. He's very distinctive. Same as Travis Pastrana. Or, you can think of certain personalities. Those are their brands. Let's go into that for a second, because I know you have a lot of insight there and a lot of interesting things to say.
Yeah, I was brand manager at Carcraft magazine and Circle Track magazine for a few years. And I got a great bit of advice when I started there from one of my mentors, Ira Gabriel, he formerly of SEMA. And he said, John, I want you to think about your brand 1 hour a month. And I didn't understand what he meant. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, just what is your brand doing? The John Biscardo brand. What is your Carcraft brand doing? What is your Circle Track brand doing? Where do you want it to go? Do you want to be the next Ken Block? Do you want to be the next Travis Pastrana? Do you want to be the next Scott Bloomquist or Leah Pruitt? And figure out, if you're not going that direction, you need to get on that. So do your Instagram posts, do your Twitter posts, get on LinkedIn. Who are your connections? Like, who are your friends' connections? Introduce yourself to your friends' connections. Build your brand. But when you have a rain delay at the track, or you're not doing anything other than scrolling through your phone, looking at your friends' car pictures, stop for a minute and think about your brand for 1 hour a month. And that was a big help to me, because I never really thought about branding in that way.
Think about your brand for 1 hour a month. That's the first time I've heard that. I love that, because that actually applies to all of us. Every single person on this call, in a way, we're all brands given what we're doing. And that message that we're sending is sort of the personality of the brand. What is the personality of Hoonigan? If racers wanted to join what you're doing with Hoonigan, I know, because I've seen drifting all the time. You see Hoonigan hats everywhere. And I know what Randy and Jody are trying to do with the brands from Wheel Pro's perspective, is make it cool and bring youth in.
Yeah, 80% of our audience is under the age of 34. So it's a unique brand. It's obviously a very young brand. But the brand is just make cars fun and get people who want to be, who are diehard car enthusiasts, but also want to help other people build awesome cars. And that's kind of what Hoonigan is. Obviously, we like to burn and shred tires. That's one of our other things, is kill all tires. But the brand is evolving constantly. We're trying to get, that's my job, is to get new sponsors, some non-endemic advertisers into Hoonigan. And it's fun every day, because I'm constantly learning, and I think the brand is constantly learning. And that goes back to my original point. What do you want your brand to be? Whether it's Alex Stryler, Meet the Sponsors, or some of the racers on the call here, what do you want your brand to be in 6 months, in a year, in 3 years, in 5 years? And just think about that. Sit back and be like, what you got to, imagine what it's going to look like and then make it happen.
And I suspect that you also want to keep the branding consistent across different sponsors. If you're going to be with a company such as Hoonigan, you need to be more cognizant that maybe it's a better mix for a Monster or a Rockstar than it is a Coca-Cola, let's say, because
Right.
the brand reaches certain demographics. You were saying under 34 primarily.
Yep.
What other companies are reaching that same demographic and in the same way?
Right. And that's kind of how I set up my target list is like, all right, I build a list of 50 or 100 prospects. And sadly for those prospects, I'm not going to stop calling them until they have a meeting with me. But yeah, I think everyone on this call, like, obviously everyone wants comp, Edelbrock, Lucas Oil, and that's fine. Build your list of who you think matches your brand. Like what kind of parts do you want in your car, and set that list out and then go get them. And don't stop till you get 10 on your top 50 or 100 on your top, 1,000, whatever the list may be. But figure out what your brand is and then go find brand partners that align with that.
So I've been doing this a long time, and you said you try to get 20, 25 a month.
Yes.
That's hard to do.
It
How
is.
realistic is that? You said 25, you could probably get 12. Of the 12, maybe 2 ask for a proposal.
Right. And I've been doing this for a while, and I'm glad you asked that question. It's hard. I didn't do it in January. I hit it in February. It's not looking good in March, looking at my calendar, but you got to have a goal of some sort to like kind of reach out for each day and each month. We were talking earlier about Ron Capps and his Napa partnership, and he's had that partnership for what, 25, 30 years. And you made a good point in your book. It's not what he does at the racetrack that Napa likes. Well, I mean, I'm sure they do, but it's all the other stuff he does the other 6 days of the week, right?
Yes, exactly.
And you got to think of like, what am I doing for the brands that are sponsoring me? Everyone kind of gets like all worried about the brands that they want, and they forget about the brands that they have sponsored with them for years. So I think you need to like make sure you're taking care of the brands that are sponsoring you, number one. Number two, when you're not doing that, go look at the brands that you want to go get.
So it's interesting you say that, because several sponsors I've gotten in the past, such as back when I was with Core, Makita came on board through Rockstar. Rockstar was a sponsor. They had a partnership with Makita separate of Core. They said, hey, we want to bring Makita in. So they did. Makita was the official power tool of the Championship Off-Road Racing Series for a year. And that was because of Rockstar. Have you ever used and levered current sponsors in order to get new ones because the sponsors work together?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it's a friend of a friend who works at one of the other sponsors. Certainly you could leverage that. I just saw we had a chat question there from Justin. Yeah, I mean, 20 to 25 messages to his potential partners. I mean, yeah, I do 20 to 25 to 30 to 35 outreaches a day, just trying to get people on the phone with me. And it's hard work and it's frustrating. I equate it to being in high school and asking girls to the dance. I got rejected a lot. So it was good training for being in sales. It's hard work, and you just can't let it get you down. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time. I can count on one hand on people who are actually legitimately mean to me and didn't want to ever talk to me again. Usually they'll just say, you know what, John, we're busy right now. Call back in Q4 or next year or whatever. But they never just out and out say, don't ever call me again. So don't be shy. Don't be afraid. Do that outreach and don't stop until you get 20, 25 a month, and you'll get there. It just takes a little while.
Which ones have been, what industries have you found to be the most successful recently? COVID seems to have changed a lot. And
yeah,
I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've noticed that many of the people who I used to have regular contact with, now, if I reach out to them, I might not hear back for 2 or 3 days. And that's really weird. Is that a new way of doing business, or people just now a little bit more lackadaisical when it comes to responding?
No. I think COVID has a play in that. So you have to be creative with your outreach. If you're not on LinkedIn, guys, ladies, get on LinkedIn, because most business people, especially marketing managers and owners, are on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn has some great, platform offerings that you can use. They have a voicemail. I don't know if people know this. You can leave voicemails in people's inbox.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's great. I've been doing that lately, and I'm sure it annoys all my marketing managers. But A lot of people still aren't in the office, right? So if you're leaving messages on people's office voicemails, they may or may not be getting them. And if I see they're on LinkedIn a lot, and you can tell because there's like a green dot when they're logged on, I will leave a voicemail in their inbox. And it's like a digital voicemail that goes into their inbox.
Wow.
You have to just do it on your cell phone, but it's really a unique way. So you got to be creative with your outreach. Obviously, emails, obviously, phone calls.
How long of a voicemail? And what do you say in a voicemail that's been successful? This is new to me, so I'm trying to learn here.
Great question. 30 to 40
Quick
seconds.
and concise, or
Quick and concise. They're busy. Same thing with your emails, by the way. Please do not write a 4-page paragraph, spaced email to marketers. They're not going to read it. They don't have time. Keep it short on your emails. I don't know, 5 to 10 sentences of what your value prop is. On your voicemail, same thing. Or do one little factoid on your voicemail. Hey, it's John from Hoonigan. I thought your company and mine might align well. 80% of our viewers are under the age of 34. I'm in the office all week. Give me a call back. Or, we have more YouTube followers than NASCAR, NHRA combined. Give me a call back if you find that interesting. And just lay the seed in their mind and you'll get a call back eventually. It's just simple, quick little hitters that you want to do 1 to 2 weeks every month.
Yeah, that's good. That's actually really interesting. That's good advice. I've never done the voicemails on LinkedIn. I might have to try
it out. Try it out. You have to do it on your phone. You can't do it on your desktop, but there's like a little, I don't want to explain it to you here, but look up voicemail on LinkedIn, and it's a good way to reach some of your marketing managers and hit them that way. Okay. Other things like we talked about, trade shows are good. Races are good. I saw a lot of people. I was at Gainesville last week for NHRA Gator Nationals. If you can get to a race where you think marketing managers are going to be at, go to that race. Speed Weeks in Daytona, any of those type of events where you think you might be able to pin down a marketing manager or a CEO.
What's the next race you're going to?
That is a good question. Like I said, I just finished Gator Nationals last week. Yeah, I gotta look at my calendar. I don't think I have anything booked yet. I need to get on that.
Same here.
I
just got back from the Mint 400. So the Mint 400 was last week and kind of decompressing. That was a great event. Always is.
Yeah. I was gonna say, whichever event you're sending me tickets to, Alex, is being the next race I go to.
There we go. All right. We'll spend some time in VIP and go walk the pits, huh?
Sounds good.
And then what industries are you seeing now are making the most investments in sponsorship and in racing? Is it the beverage industry, the energy brands? Is it endemics, the cars? Car manufacturers?
Yeah. Energy brands for sure. Fast food, QSRs, quick service restaurants are looking into it because
what kind of fast food? What brands and what kind of fast food brands? Because fast food's not one that I've really approached very, very much.
Yeah. And if you look at NASCAR sponsors, and it's right there on their website, or NHRA sponsors, there are some companies in that arena you can take a look at. I don't know how Taco Bell got into racing stuff, but that they're trying to reach a young audience, and that's what a lot of racing is a young audience. So yeah, I would take a look at that. Gosh,
those are good because then you can always drive traffic into their stores. The good thing about any kind of food company, beverage companies, you can offer sampling. You can give out drinks and cans at an event. With fast food, and I know Chick-fil-A had done some sponsorships in the past with off-road and even in action sports, and they would give out coupons for free meals at Chick-fil-A stores. Which was always kind of cool. And then they can monitor that because of the barcode or the coupon code, and they can see which of their athletes is the most effective in getting people into the stores because they scan the coupon codes.
Right. Yeah. And, obviously the usual near endemics, which are like wax companies, tire companies, auto parts store companies, those are good ones to go after as well. Because again, they're looking to drive people into their stores, whether it's AutoZone or whoever. They're looking to get people into their stores, Advance Auto, and build their younger audience.
So you've had a lot of experience just with your time at Motor Trend and CarCraft and all these that there are several drifters on the call tonight. What advice would you give to drifters in selecting the type of company to go after? Would you recommend the fast food? Do you recommend the energy drinks, the tire companies, the endemics, non-endemics?
I do them all.
Having the most success?
I do them all, especially the drifter guys who have like they're looking for, a lot of people are looking for micro influencers. So if you have, 5,000 followers or 10,000 followers, pitch that out to some of these clients. They're looking for the next big, blow up of a automotive influencer like Joe Rady and Rady's Rides, or Alex Taylor, or any of those type of guys, or ladies in Alex's case. But they're looking for micro influencers. So I would pitch them all and just say, hey, I'm building my following. I have whatever 10,000 followers, and here's what I can do for you. And make sure you do it. We were talking about this. I was watching who was it? The AEM call you had to meet this
Malika.
Yeah, Lawson Malika, great dude. Former Pitt football player too. He's a good dude. But he said, yeah, if you're gonna take my sponsorship money, don't make me chase you down at the end of the year to see what you did for me, or to send me videos or pictures. Make sure you're constantly in communication with me if I decide to sponsor you. Even if you come in last at your event, whether it's drifting or drag racing or oval track racing, what are you doing for me in your last place finish? I still need to see weekly where my sponsorship dollars are going. So I think racers get so caught up in getting a sponsorship, you got to make sure you keep that sponsorship by doing your end, which is social media posts, videos, hashtags, all that good stuff.
So you said micro influencer, and that's interesting to me because I think race car drivers prefer to just be known as racers, but they are also influencers. And especially if you want to start making more money and create more value for sponsors, you need to have that influencer label, and that you need to be an influencer in addition to just being a racer.
Right.
Influencer where? Is this obviously social media? You were mentioning LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a good way for you to communicate with potential sponsors, but where should the racers be influencers? Instagram, Facebook, TikTok? What do you recommend?
Yeah, all the above. Twitter, don't be a platform snob, which means don't just post yourself on Instagram or TikTok. You got to do it all. I was very anti TikTok. My daughter, who's in college, finally got me to get on TikTok. So I kind of see why it's addictive. You're scrolling through video after video, but you got to make sure you're doing all of the above with your branding and with your content. You are an influencer, even if you have 500 followers and they're just your family and friends. People are going to see what parts you're using and what wax you're using and what oil you're using, because cars, you're racing cars, you're drifting cars. So you are an influencer, whether you like it or not. And I think you need to use that to your advantage to get more sponsorships.
Yeah. And you had mentioned Ron Capps earlier. He's been actually mentioned in several shows. In a way, he's an influencer too, even though at the time when he was building his relationship with Napa and becoming known as the Napa driver, he was not using social media back then. Now he is. He's very effective at it. But even when he wasn't using social media, he was an influencer in his own way by going to stores, Napa Auto Parts stores, signing autographs and just talking about cars.
Right. And that was a guy who won a lot and still wins a lot. So people are going to want to see what parts is he using? How is he winning so much? Mm-hmm. And the same thing goes if you're at SEMA and you're at the burn yard with the Hoonigan guys and you have the best burnout of the day, or your tires light on fire. People are going to say, wow, that guy's really cool. What a rad burnout or donut he did at SEMA. How do I use what parts he's using? And that's influencing.
That's cool. So I saw you at PRI. We bumped into each other briefly. Were you there pitching? Were you there going to meetings that you had already set up? Or how did you use PRI? I know we already talked about trade shows, but specifically this last PRI in December, we were too busy, both of us, to actually stop and grab a beer or a coffee during the show. So
no, I didn't have a single thing set up. I was hired that week at Hoonigan. So I just walking around. I didn't even have a Hoonigan shirt. I was just walking around to everyone I was working at Hoonigan. And I had a seminar there as well, like you did. So I had to host that. I think it was a social media influencer seminar. So maybe I'll get some of these folks watching our call today to be on my next panel. But yeah, I was just,
you got to tell me about that. That's going to be cool.
Yeah. And I kind of started with, the old Powerade marketing pitch that, we're all just a kid from somewhere. Yes. Richard Petty's a kid from Level Cross, North Carolina. Ken Block's a kid from Long Beach, California. Travis Pastrana's a kid from Annapolis, Maryland. They didn't know they were Travis Pastrana or Ken Block when they were born. I highly doubt it. I mean, they developed their brand. They built themselves into something, and they kind of built it from scratch. And I think everyone on your calls, everyone watching, and everyone that you've talked to before is doing the same thing. You just got to keep after it, no matter how many times you get knocked down.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's, when you do this professionally and you do it for a living, like I do, you get rejected 99.999% of the time. And
Yep.
it's very rare that someone says, okay, send me more info. I'm interested, send me a proposal, put something together for me. And
Yep.
then you start to think, I don't know, am I wasting my time? Is this just is this a courtesy reply? And then every once in a while, one comes through.
Yeah.
And you really do have to get used to the no's in order to
Yeah.
realize when the yes is real.
Yeah. And it makes the yes all that much sweeter. It really does. And I know no one wants to hear that because they're probably like, well, I haven't had a yes in months, but it's right around the corner. It is. And I've seen it happen, and it could be a huge yes. I mean, maybe you get a $500,000 sponsor who just really believes in you, and it's been watching you all along and you didn't know it. You can't get discouraged on the daily no's. It's
And that's really important because it's not just in marketing. You when you are sponsored by a company, you have to consider yourself as part of their marketing arm. You're now working for that company. And if you're working for the company, you need to get to know everybody else you're working with in that company. And
Yep.
what are you trying to do? The goal of marketing is to increase sales. So the most important people you need to meet are the salespeople to see if your marketing is helping them increase sales.
right.
A lot of drivers don't do that. They just stick with just the marketing personnel. They only get to know marketing people. And as you know, marketing people change a lot. They rotate
Yep.
companies.
Yep.
For example, your new marketing director who issues sponsorships, he came from Red Bull. Well,
Right.
guess what? If you didn't get to know his replacement at Red Bull, now you don't have a contact at Red Bull anymore.
Right.
So it's real important to meet everybody you work with, especially the salespeople who rely on marketing, because they can tell you what works, what helps move more product.
Right. And there's another aspect to that. In addition to the salespeople, the guy you got the marketing sponsorship from, or the marketing team, ask for feedback. That I know it's hard to do, but are my videos, high res enough for you? Are they long enough? Do you want more signage in the background? How can I make them better? And I think if you ask that quarterly or whenever you talk to your marketing team, I think it's all the better for you getting to renew that sponsorship.
That's a really good point. A lot of times what racers will do is, and what I see all the time, because I'm on many mailing lists, and they send me their post performance updates, proof of performance reports after an event.
Mhm.
But it's always, here's what I did, here's what I did, here's what I did, here's what I did. And it's never, what else can I do different? Or what should I do different for you? Or what else do
Right.
you need from me? I don't think I've ever gotten that from a racer. It's
Yep.
always, here's what I've done. And I'm not the guy that issues sponsorships. I just happen to be on the mailing list. So I see what the marketing directors are getting.
Right.
And if you want to be like everybody else, send them your proof of performance after an event. Tell them how you did. Tell them, what media you might have been in, how many attendees, how many people were at the races. Did you get television or not? Were you in a magazine or not? If you want to be like everybody else, do that. But if you
Right.
want to set yourself apart, take it a step further, like you're saying, and ask them, what else can I do for you that I didn't do this time? Or what did I do that you like that I can do more of? Or what did I didn't do very well? What can I do better?
Right. Right. Now that's a great point. There was a mayor of New York City, a guy named Ed Koch in the 1980s. And I thought he had a really interesting way of introducing himself. He wouldn't just say, walk up to you and say, hey, I'm Ed Koch. How are you doing today? Nice to meet you. He'd say, I'm Ed Koch. I'm mayor of New York City. How can I do better? Or how can I help you? Or what is the way I can help you? Like, it was interesting the way he phrased it. How am I doing as a mayor is basically what he said to new people. And he would open himself up to feedback. And I thought that was brilliant. Hi, I'm Ed Koch. How am I doing? Mayor of New York City. So I think if you have that kind of mindset where you're open to coaching or, criticism on your sponsorship, I think that's a good thing. And I think marketing managers would appreciate that.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we practice what we preach? Hey, everybody who's listening right now, guys in the chat room, Great. What questions might you have of John or myself regarding sponsorships? Anybody have a question?
Bring it on.
What would you like to hear from us? Tell us more. Tell us what you want to hear.
I see one of my favorite marketing managers is on the call, Lori Spalding. So that's cool. I'm sure
Hi, Lori.
She'll fire.
I can't see the screen, so I can't see those. I can see the
screen.
I take it back, but the text is too small.
Well, I jumped on here because I needed to see what John had to say.
How am I doing?
Awesome, John, as always.
Thanks, buddy. Lori works for rhino.co, which is like an online classified website service that also does sponsorships for racers. And she also works for Dream Giveaway, which is a charity where you can win dream cars and donate to charity at the same time.
Nice. Well, thank you for joining the call. That's awesome. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
We do have a question here. Are you
Andy's
guys
saying there's something in the chat?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead, John, if you have it.
Yeah, sure. Are you guys doing anything in the virtual racing arena? Good
Great
question. Yeah, not yet. We do work with a few video game companies, online gaming companies, that kind of thing, but not yet in the virtual racing arena. I know we're looking at it, but not yet. I think it's around the corner because I know that market's getting huge.
Especially since you have a younger demographic.
Right.
Sounds like this might be a very good avenue for you to pursue some marketing, because obviously in sim racing and virtual racing, it skews much younger than your traditional, let's say, sprint car or modifieds or late models. So
No,
that could be very interesting for a brand like Hoonigan.
Yeah, and I think
Great question.
you saw how legit it was when you had NASCAR drivers doing virtual racing. It's pretty impressive what they're doing with that right now. Good question.
And every time you go to SEMA, I mean, the display outside's Hoonigan. It's just, I always know because I can see the smoke from a mile away.
Right. I think last year we actually had to shut it down because the monorail had so much smoke. We couldn't see. They had to stop the monorail, so we had to take a time out because it was so much smoke. But that's what we do.
Great photos of the smoke, by the way, in the parking lot at SEMA. And if I'm not real good at video editing, but if my son can help me at the recording of this that I post later, I'm going to see if I can find one of those photos and insert it into this video.
Yeah,
I'd
love to have it there. Yeah,
it's very cool.
Yep.
Tammy, did you say there's another question or?
No, not yet. I think everyone's being shy. That's fine.
Good. Well, actually,
I have a question if I can chime in.
Go ahead.
I'm curious as to if there's any kind of way that you can think of or examples from the past where people have ways to stand out. I've kind of had ideas of whether it's good to use hashtags to reach out through social media, and then that way you can chat with a marketing person and say, hey, I've been hashtagging and trying to follow you guys and help you guys along.
Right. No, that's unique, and that's a good way. And I would have no problem with you doing that. That's a great question. I struggle with that every day, because I have a bunch of marketing managers' cell phone numbers. So I'm like, all right, do I text them and bother them, on their cell phone, or do I reach out to them on Instagram and say, hey, you should sponsor Hoonigan? If nothing else has worked, that's always my last resort, because I just want to be like, are you alive? Are you getting my messages?
Yes.
That kind of thing. So I don't know. What do you think, Alex?
I have the same. I have a lot of, I always start with an email if it's a sale pitch. If I'm trying to sell something, or if it's a sales pitch, it'll start with an email. Just, are you interested? And if there's no response, then I'll usually take it to a cell phone, which I have a lot of numbers like you do. But instead of it being a sales pitch on the cell phone, what I do is I send a text message that says, are you going to be at the blank event next weekend? I try to find out where they will be in person so I can meet up and speak with them in person. I don't do any pitches by texting. That's just something I don't like it when people text me and I get them a lot, and it just, you're enjoying an afternoon with your family, or you're out to dinner and all of a sudden, boom, you get a text message. Someone's trying to sell you something. I don't respond to those. And I know that others don't either. So I will usually use the texting to set up a meeting or find out where somebody's going to be so that I can then speak with them in person. That's just the way I do it.
Agreed.
John, if you don't mind me jumping in, it's Lori.
Sure.
Just as a CMO, I mean, in all honesty, I'm not going to see a hashtag. Most people that are going to be the decision makers are never going to see that hashtag.
Good point.
Tagging someone as an @dream giveaway, then it does actually send us a message on Instagram and Facebook that someone actually tagged your account. But again, unless your marketing people are who's controlling that social media, generally that message is never going to get to you. It kind of depends on how much they interact with their social media. I think a face-to-face, like you just said, Alex, there's no replacement for that as to are you going to be at this event? And I reach out to John regularly. Hey, are you going to this event?
Sure.
And some of the others, because I think I've made so many direct connections with getting your face in front of somebody and saying, oh, right, I did meet you at PRI, or I met you at that NHRA race or NMCA race, or whatever it may be. In all honesty, I probably ignore 80% of the emails that come through, just because there's so many. I can't ignore the voicemails quite as much. I do tend to listen to them even if I don't respond to them. So be repetitive, like John said, kind of keep reaching out to. I do read everything that comes in through LinkedIn messages. But if it starts out as an outright sales pitch, I tend to kind of ignore that too. I have to say the other thing I'd say is if you're going to email me or send me something on LinkedIn or whatever it is, like John said, don't be vague. Get to the point really quickly. And pretty much like I'll say back, I've had some racers, of course, send us their pitch deck, or they'll just be like, hey, we're looking for some sponsorship. And I'm like, well, what do you have to offer?
Right.
If you're looking for sponsorship, you have to say exactly what you have to offer that sponsor, or they're not going to get bogged down in reading a bunch of information.
Lori, I love that point, especially the vague part. Like I try and keep that very clear in my pitches. Like I'm asking you to be a integrated sponsor in a video. Here's how much it is. Here's how many views you'll get. End the email or end the note. Like don't send a vague email where you're like, I might want parts. I might want dollars. I don't know. I just want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Get to the point.
That was really good. I appreciate that. Thank you, Lori. So with all the racers on the call here, do you want to give out your email address and cell phone number and LinkedIn?
We get a ton coming to us, and as people start to learn more about what Rhino does, and because we have the Racer Support Tour, now we have a bunch of people coming to us because we're giving away $60,000 this year. Ooh, so I definitely get it. I definitely get the emails and the LinkedIn stuff, but most of our connects are made at the races themselves, and I just enjoy going.
Agreed. I agree with that. After you go to races a certain number of times, and there's some races where all the marketing directors go. In Supercross, it's Anaheim 1, and in NASCAR, it's Daytona. Mm-hmm. Every series has its opener, and that opener is usually where all the marketing directors go. And that's a great place to meet people. And some of those will go to the second or third or fourth events. Usually the first event and the last event are always the two most popular for marketing directors, and a few in between, the fun ones. Vegas is usually always fun. And, people on the East Coast like West Coast races and vice versa. So you can bump into people over and over and over. And as you do so, you slowly get to know them, and they get to recognize you and they get to know you. And then you can start those conversations. After you've done it 5 years, you really start to get to know some people more intimately, and it's easier to go up to them and then start a pitch if you have to. But usually you don't start with a sales pitch. You start with something personal, something fun, something that you have in common, and build that relationship.
Yep. All good points.
Hey, so I didn't realize, but it's already 50 minutes, and I promised you this would go 45 minutes, and we're going to do a little one-on-one chat. So I'm going to run over to my other camera.
Okay.
But thank you, John, for doing this. This was awesome. Everybody stay on the line. We're going to do a little one-on-one now where anybody can just ask any questions. We kind of already did it in a way that was a great segue with Lori and the questions that we just had. So thank you, everybody, for attending. This was awesome. Went a little longer than I had expected, but man, it goes fast. I'm going to run to my other camera. Anybody who has questions for John, shoot them in right now. You can ask him, and I'll see you in 30 seconds.
Awesome.
Hey, John, will you be at Hyperfest at all, or the Hoonigan guys be at Hyperfest this year?